welcome to Fireside Forge. I'm your host, Citrine, the Armored Sloth, and this is Tangle, Yonder, Sarah, and Jamminy Dodger here with me today. Today's topic is furries, specifically the art that comes out of the furry fandom.
It's like, is there any way to segue off of that? It doesn't sound super cringe.
No,
Literally
we embrace
no
the cringe in this studio.
It's funny because I had like tons of things to say while I was talking to Sit prior to we started recording, and then I'm like, wait, I have to keep everything for the actual podcast, and now I'm just blanking.
How about, okay, before we because I know Yonder wants to dunk on some furry art, and that's valid, but how about somebody talks about furry art that they like first? Just so that it's not all us being like, wow. I know, Citrine, you gotta have something to say, like you really do.
Okay, first of all, y'all are so mean. This is like everyone watching. If you're watching this podcast right now, I'm talking about you. Y'all are so mean to artists who draw furry art in an incredibly toony style, and I think it is so underappreciated because I would rather have that than like a gregarious art of feet. Like it's really harmless.
Okay. You know what? I'm about to snipe you from orbit because all of the feet art that I've seen, a lot of it is like specifically from toon people. Like you follow those accounts and they have the really big feet with the giant paws, and you're like, see this right here? This is soft.
Okay, I get that there's a little bit of overlap there, but like
a lot, actually.
I'm gonna censor out this person's name so I don't straight up call them out. Like in post, you guys are not gonna hear this name, but like for example, like I love that art style. I think it's great, and I wish more furries would like lean into like the suggested physics and like the kind of great situations that you can get out of like placing a character in a toon scenario, as opposed to like my persona works at a coffee shop, like that kind of thing. So I love those artists.
I do think like, I guess you have to censor me too, but I do like this art. I think it does a really good job of being toony but still being appealing, because I think a lot of the times like toony styles just really aren't my thing. Like I like the like anime inspired like 2000 emo style. Like that's my niche right there. That's the part I like to look at. What'd you say?
Nothing. Elite.
Little bunch. Yeah, that's my favorite style. But I do like style, and I don't like hate the toony style. I think when it's done really well and like, I don't know, I think it's good. I don't know, it just doesn't appeal to me most of the time, but I don't think it's like objectively bad, except if you're doing the thing with the feet, then like, bruh.
Or like, here's another one that I'm gonna have to censor out. But I don't know if any of you are familiar with. He has an art style where like the appendages, like the arms and legs and the hands and feet, are very big and exaggerated, but he doesn't make it like a ooh woo TM thing, and I really love it. Like I think it's a guy. He'd probably be really good at drawing Citrine if he like exaggerates the size of the claws and stuff like that.
I'm looking this up right now.
Okay, it would be really helpful if you guys had like examples of this, because I don't know what on earth you guys are talking about. Because
okay,
I can
get
there at this point.
But like, I love this guy's art style. Let me find this real quick. Like, you ever see someone's art style and you're like, this makes me want to do art because it's just so unique? I'm like, I'm here for this.
Let me find, because okay, just for she's gonna get censored out anyway, but like, just for people who don't know, is a pretty popular artist within the fandom, I'm pretty sure. She does a more like toony style of furry, as opposed to like, I don't know, like, and like other people who do like the edgy like the edgy emo dog kind of style, which I can give examples of that as well.
Bruh, I don't exist in the furry fandom. You know this. I'm too hipster for that.
Oh my, shut the frick up. You were in NCF for so long, drinking the Kool-Aid. Shut up. I don't want to hear it from you.
Bruh, okay. I'm trying to go through this person's account, and there's like no art. It's all just retweets. Like, how am I? Okay, there we go. That's better.
Oh yeah, I've seen that person actually. I just didn't know what their username was.
Yeah, I love their stuff.
Yeah,
I really want to get a comm of Citrine because I'm like, exaggerate those freaking feet.
Yeah, I actually like that. That's pretty.
But yeah,
nice.
artists who draw like artists like these two. I get that this person like is actually a really big artist in the fandom, but I'm like, art styles like this are very underrated, I think.
Yeah, I meant like, when I say toony, I don't mean like these two. I mean like, I don't even have an example because I don't like follow people, but you'll know it when you see it. It's just like,
yeah,
stop. But like, there are other people who do more like a Looney Tunes style, like more closer to like Looney Tunes, like classic Disney, which like doesn't really appeal to me, but I think is really interesting. But yeah, I don't know. I guess I'll put an example of two because that's the style that I tend to like, is closer to that. But go ahead. I'm sorry, Citrine, you were saying something.
What was I going to say? Oh yeah, I was going to say There's a lot of artists also where it's like you can tell they got their start from watching like Balto or like Anastasia because like you can just kind of see it.
Oh yeah.
Or like you'll know if someone grew up as like a Sonic fan in the 8th grade, you will know. If they're a furry, just from the way they draw, you will know.
Okay, you got the Disney people too, and you've got like old Disney versus like they started drawing after they saw Zootopia furries.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you can see it.
Which makes me think of a question, like slightly off topic, but slightly on topic. Like, I'm not into furry fandom. I let y'all give me a government-assigned persona, but I know like nothing. So like, where did you guys get your start? Like, what inspired you? Like, what was the movie or the art that like you first saw that was like really cool?
Also,
like,
more
mind
specifically,
blowing?
are you asking how I ended up as a furry, or like what was the?
Like, because you all draw, right?
I don't draw. I
Well, there goes that.
Well, you make fursuits.
Okay, I make fursuits and I do the occasional 3D model, but I don't do like 2D art.
Okay, well, I'm just like meaning like what kind of style did you see that like got you excited to make furry creations? We'll just call it creations so that the other people can speak.
Yeah.
To it.
Well, with the 3D modeling, I think it was just kind of inherent because I played a lot of video games with animals in them, and while I'm not talking, I'll have to go find an example of what I mean. But from that, I was like, oh, because I started making 3D models, so I'm like, I want 3D assets for my game, so that kind of led into that. With the fursuits, I saw a suit, and I was like, I want this, but without the sexy eyelids. And I say that as a pejorative because I don't really think that, but I think that's obviously what they're going for. And then like saw a suit, and I was like, I want this, but less exaggerated. So then I kind of took that and I mixed it with like my own quote unquote art style because I've drawn, I think, Cyan before.
You drew Cyan,
like,
yeah.
You can kind of see my art style if I were to draw something, but it's like those two plus that equals what my fursuits look like, basically. Tangle, if you have anything to add.
Okay, so I guess what started me out drawing animals was Pokemon, and I have a very extensive history of like my first OCs, I'm pretty sure, were like Pokemon OCs, and like I got into roleplay groups on DeviantArt, and that's pretty much what started me off as like drawing animals. And I know a lot of the cartoons that I watched at the time like had animals in them. Like I remember I drew like Camp Lazlo and like stuff like that. I think just seeing the thing that like when I really got like furry was like seeing other people's styles, kind of like stuff, the thing that I just like posted right here. I just really like that slick, like emo but stylized kind of thing. And I think that's mainly what kind of inspired me to do furry stuff. But I also had my own style that was kind of like a lot of inspiration from anime, obviously, because I was a weeaboo. I am still a weeaboo. But yeah, I don't know. Every time I see a
weeaboo and a furry, double cringe.
More likely than you think. Yeah, I'm the double cringe master. But yeah, honestly, anytime I see a good furry style, I'm just like, I want that, and I just like find some way to incorporate it. But I also like the edgier,
absorb.
Yeah, I like the edgier stuff that posts too. Like I like that stuff too. I think it's mostly because of my depression, but it's fine.
Yeah, I'm gonna go into my whole furry. Well, I don't know if I'd call it furry because like I'm gonna get like put on blast for this, but creature
I really
art
am about to.
Yeah, you are about to, but let me finish first before you bring in your Ace Attorney objection. Okay. But I do not think that shut up. I do not think that creature art is within the same realm entirely as furry art, because part of it comes down to like the label, like because some people they will draw creatures and they'll draw like fauna and stuff, which is more explicitly like, okay, I'm drawing animals for an ecosystem. Like I'm drawing like this is a dragon that appears, not a dragon, but they're the crate dragon that appears in like Tatooine and Mandalorian or something. You got people who are drawing these giant like monsters and junk, and yes, there is overlap because you can start humanizing the monsters, and then it just gets into a whole other like can of worms there. For me, like I do have OCs, I do have like stuff of that lean a little more furry, but also stuff that doesn't really lean very furry. That all said, I'm more of a monster / creature artist. I don't consider myself a furry in the typical sense. I will consider myself furry adjacent at the most. Part of it is because I can't stand how like random the furry community is. I'm sorry.
It's a good vocabulary word for that.
Wait, what was that word?
Yeah, Randy.
What does that mean?
It means
Oh, okay. You didn't have to say that.
But like,
like,
yeah. And then also, I just don't. When it comes to like, I have a whole spiel about it, but I'm not fond of the majority of like furry body plan designs, like proportion wise. But that's like a whole other like conversation that will happen later once I can get into like a character design versus like fursuit design, because they're two completely different fields. But that being said, let me segue to my origin story. So, I'm very much like Tangle. My origin was mostly in Pokemon and actually in Warrior Cup
Oh, yeah,
as
Warrior
well.
Cup.
I think what my first thing was. I think the first thing I drew was back in, I think it was in middle school, question mark, and I was drawing like warrior OCs essentially. And it kind of just progressed from there because I never liked drawing people. I always preferred consuming material that was about animals, whether that be like Guardians of Gahul, Warriors, whatever kind of fills that void. And it just kind of was something that I had always leaned into. And Pokemon was like probably my largest phase. I think I considered myself primarily a Pokemon fan artist for maybe 4 years or so, a little bit longer than that. And then I started leaning into like original OCs and junk. And then from there, I'm just like, I like doing creature design. I like doing this, I like doing that. What has inspired my taste these days, now that I'm kind of been exposed to different media and all that, is like special effects, feature design. Like, I haven't seen the ritual yet, but the monster design in there is really good. Probably one of the most clever designs I've seen. What else? There's Alien Xenomorph is a classic. I can't think of anything else at the top of my head, but you can kind of see the angle that I lean in. Very creaturely, very not humanized. That doesn't mean that I won't make characters that have personalities and human characteristics, but I usually make no effort to add any sort of human characteristics within the design itself, like the walking on two legs, meshing, like going Beastars mode and sticking a animal head on a human body kind of thing. I can hear sitting in the back.
You have no idea how hard I'm trying not to just start talking.
Yeah. But that's kind of my angle of furry / creature, whatever.
Wait, have you played?
I still
played
prefer Dauntless. I played a little bit of it. It's just whenever I boot up a game, it's like Monster Hunter possesses me.
I mean, it's basically a poor man's Monster Hunter, but I was gonna ask about.
I know it. Yeah, I know it's poor man's Monster
I was
Hunter.
gonna ask.
I played it.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, we asked
I was gonna ask what you thought about the monster design, because it's definitely different from Monster Hunter. It's a lot less photorealistic.
Yeah. The art style is nice. I can appreciate the art style. It's different. It's interesting. I think that the designs themselves they work for the game. What my critique is that I think they lean a little too heavy into the red and blue what's the word? The red and blue themed modes of the monsters, because they have like, oh, red is enraged, which is great, but I feel like that it makes the color and palette designs a little too limited. Maybe I need to play the game more, but from what I've seen, it's like, okay, they have the glowing cyan bits, and then when they're mad, they have glowing red bits, and it seems to always fit into that theme. And this is just me. I find it limiting, as opposed to what I see in Monster Hunter, where the way they help you anticipate that the monster is enraged is usually through like a puff of smoke that kind of exits the mouth, that kind of shows that they're like huffing and puffing because they're pissed. I prefer that, as opposed to really in your face, oh, it's red, it's mad, or oh, it's green, it's not mad, kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I feel that.
That's kind of it was kind of a long explanation, but that's kind of my thing with that.
I swear I won't make this into Monster Hunter podcast o'clock, but I have to give special props to whoever designed like the Zinogre's charge mechanic, where he like stands there and collects energy. Like, that's amazing.
Ooh.
It works in like a gameplay sense. It helps you understand what's going on thematically. It's amazing. I love it.
Oh, I love it because it gives me a perfect opportunity to flinch right into the wall.
Right, basically. But
Zinogre meet wall.
basically.
Oh, I'm so excited for Rise.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited for that. I got caught up because I'm like, I pre-ordered it on the Switch because I pre-order every Monster Hunter game, but I'm like, I heard it was also maybe coming to PC at some point. So I'm like,
Yeah, if it's coming to PC, I might prefer PC because I imagine the performance might be better. It depends. It depends how the port works. Because some ports, from what I understand, I'm not super into how stuff gets ported. But from what I understand, certain games will get ported by a certain program, and different programs have different some of them aren't as good as others as far as like the reputation of how good the games that are ported come out of. remember they used port. It was Persona 4 Golden to PC. I think it was to Steam or whatever. I heard that port wasn't very good because of the engine they used to port it over.
Yeah, I think with the ports, especially since it's originating as a Switch game, I'm kind of scared, but it's going to come down to basically what company do they get to do it, and do they use an engine, or do they do it from the ground up? Because obviously it'll be better if they do it from the ground up, but it'll take so much longer to release. So it's like, there's that whole thing, but hopefully it's a good port. I'm willing to wait up to like a year and a half for a good port to the PC, especially since it was a Switch game. But the good news is, since the Switch is not that powerful, it will be able to look that much better on PC. So that's going to be kind of cool.
PC. And then mods. I can finally mod something.
You can mod stuff in. You can finally fight Thomas the Tank Engine.
Oh god.
I posted it earlier, but I want to circle back to it because now I'm just talking about furry art. But the person whose art I posted, censoring this, but strikes a really good positioning between like my persona works at a coffee shop and like art that is actually evocative and thoughtful. Now, a point of pride for me is that she actually has done art of Citrine. I have a profile picture, and it's not there now, but it will be on my Twitter by the time this goes up, that I've had for a while. She did an icon of Citrine for me a while ago, and I think she would just do the best Athena ever. Just looking at the art that I posted there, I'm like, you could really do some good stuff with Athena. So I'm really, really a fan of art styles that look like that as well. But yeah.
I remember when you got that icon, actually. I didn't know this was the same person, because I'm pretty sure I follow her too.
Yeah, she does amazing work.
Yeah. There are a lot of people like frick. I'm gonna look for more people.
when you were like, hey, here's a bunch of artists that you should like buy me art from them for my birthday, I really was like, I should just ignore her and commission.
Wow. Okay.
Because don't you think Cyan would look really good in her style? I mean, or even Ridley might look really good in her style.
Ooh, actually,
with the proper mood lighting, might look kind of hitting. That's all I'm saying.
Okay. Also, I think styles like this are ones that I like this. This right here, stuff like this, the bad. Goat. This is what I like.
I'm feeling the teeth.
So is it because of how they draw the teeth, or what? Like, what's appealing about this style specifically?
Because it's stylized enough for me, but it also looks cool, you know? Like, the teeth are really cool. It's kind of like edgy looking, but like also kind of appealing, you know? Like, I don't know. It's so hard. It's like the vibes. Like, I don't even...
I'm really not trying to be furry, but like the ball is so important.
Of this style.
I don't know how to explain it. It's like just the vibes.
It's literally just the vibe.
Right.
That like vaporwave aesthetic background too kind of adds to it.
Or like this one. Like all the styles that I like are like this. Like this one. Like it's just stuff like this. Like the vibes. Like I don't know how to like. I don't even know. It's just a vibe.
You're just clapping and assuming we understand you.
Because I can't articulate myself very well.
I do get it. I just think it's funny that you're clapping and being like, surely this will get across to the people watching.
I don't know. It's like cute, but it's also like edgy and cool. But like it's also just appealing. I don't know. And teeth. I don't know. I don't know how to explain it. I feel stupid now.
You are stupid. We love you.
Wow, thanks. You're right, though.
Okay, so what's really funny is that in the furry community, the one thing I do know is that scalies have a reputation for being pretentious. And yes, I do fit that description. So yes, I will out myself as the pretentious scaly adjacent. Yeah. And just flat out say that I find dogs to be a bit overrated.
All right.
Here's my thing.
She's right.
Here's my thing. So my thing is, so if you're designing something for a fursuit, I get it. You're trying to design for a specific like mold head thing that you already have. But if you like boast that you're drawing like mostly dog furry OCs, and you're like, oh, this is a Malamute, it looks nothing like a Malamute. Oh, this is a Borzoi, looks nothing like a Borzoi. Like, sit down and like I can look at art and say, okay, I think it was one time I was looking at someone's art. It was of a like I think it was a dog or a cat, but I'm like, this is a hyena. Like this is a hyena mane trying to draw a cat or something. And then there was one time I saw someone drawing like some Scar art, like Scar from Lion King. And I'm like looking at this and going, yeah, this guy's like a dog mane. And like, you know, props to these people for going out of their comfort zone and drawing things that that aren't what they normally draw. Like that's great to see. But also at the same time, like continue to push that. Continue to like go on and like try new things. I mean, to an extent, yeah, I gotta give people like credit where credit is due. Like you have your niche, you know your niche, you exploit your niche. I'm sure that if I sat down and drew something, that my bias towards like drawing dinosaurs and sighthounds and stuff would end up finding their bias in whatever I end up designing. Which yeah, I'll admit that. It's just finding that balance between you find what you love and you do it on purpose. That's great, but also draw your dogs right. I'm gonna have a stroke.
Okay, I have things to say.
Wait, hold
There
on.
are
Before we get
Okay,
completely killed by the internet, if you want to draw as many dogs and huskies and fulfs, do your thing. Like, if you're having fun, it doesn't really matter what a bunch of random people on a podcast think. We just think it would be nice if you would actually honor, like, if we could see more representations of species actually being, like, accurately drawn in some way. Because it is kind of weird to consistently be like, that's a husky. Like, I feel like it's like, I don't see a husky there. But if you are vibing with your husky that looks like a generic dog, like, literally just do you. Like, it's fine. I'm just saying, we're just saying.
Wait. I'm gonna make people upset.
Because
Y'all just like, no, you may not. Actually, you may not have fun, actually.
Any furries who are watching this might be mildly upset by what I'm about to say, but I want you to know that I don't care. Fulfs are boring, and they're generally poorly designed, and I don't usually like them, because here's the thing. There are a lot of different types of fox, and I think there's a lot of very unique things. Yeah, I am going to guess over my opinion on fulfs. Like,
oh my god.
Foxes and wolves are two of the most common species in the whole frickin' fandom. And I feel like you mash them together because they're both very popular and you want attention. Not because you feel either of these species represent you or that you connect with them personally. You just saw a YouTuber and said, I'm doing that too. So yeah, if you have a fulf, we're fighting. But other than that, you're valid. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, see, my thing is like 90% of the time that I see what's called a quote unquote fulf, I'm like, that's just a wolf. Why are you sticking?
Or it's just
the
a
F in
freaking
front of it?
dog. Like,
I'm gonna shut my mouth before I say it's like the worst thing.
okay, shouts out to the fulfs who contain the characteristics of neither a fox nor a wolf, and they are just generically a canid. Like, I hate you.
Oh gosh, you're really gonna get us canceled, huh? Wow. It was really nice knowing the channel.
We need strong personality on this podcast.
Oh,
I'm so glad you attached my name.
Would you say, Jamm? I'm sorry. These two crackheads were talking.
Oh, never mind.
I'm sorry.
Never mind.
I feel bad now.
There are a lot of hills that I'm willing to die on, but fulfs are just not one of them. Oh, that's why I like baby weed.
I am 6 feet under right now on this hill because I'm dying on it. I'm not saying that making a fulf precludes your character from being good. I'm saying you have to try. Like, anything at all to give me both fox energy and wolf energy. Because here's the thing. It's really hard because fox energy and wolf energy are opposing energies. Like, wolves are they're like big and they're proud and they're a little bombastic and they're very selfish. Whereas foxes are like clever and actually a little effeminate and they're like small. They don't take up much space in a room. Not to mention that the patterning on both is just completely different. So it's like, this is hard. I think it can be done, but I think no one's done it yet.
Bro.
That's all I'm saying.
Okay. Which furry art actually like acknowledges the natural coding of an animal?
Exactly none
fair.
of it. Even I'm guilty of that.
I mean, no, yeah, sparkle dogs are fun to draw, honestly.
Yeah.
Okay, my other thing that I was gonna say, it's like, and I'm definitely censoring this person's name out if I can even remember what it is, because I have nothing positive to say about the suit. So, because you were talking about different dog breeds,
Yeah.
someone did is it a borzoi or is it a bourgeois? I have no idea. You know that dog.
I have
I
no
don't-
idea. It's the horse dog.
And when I tell you,
Long-nosed dog.
the worst, like, it was something about, like, okay, they understood the qualities that make this dog look like this dog, but the art style, or I should say the suit style, was so, like, angular, and the fur was just cut so close, I wasn't even sure it was fake fur, and I'm like, I have never seen a fursuit. Actually, yes, I have, but
I know who you're talking about.
I know you do.
Oh, no.
I've never seen a fursuit that evoked such raw disgust in me, and I'm glad I can't remember what the person's name was who did it, because I would call them out. I would censor it, but I would call them out right now. They were like, I'm setting out to make the most angular fursuit. Like, it wasn't, oh my gosh, it was just horrible. It was like, I hate looking at this. Or like, because like, it's so important. like it's obviously important with general art, but like with a fursuit, it is so important that it looks good from all angles because people are going to see it from all angles when you're wearing it. And I'm like, there's not a single angle for this animal that I'm enjoying right now. It's horrible. And the worst part about it was, it wasn't poorly made. Like, this was obviously made by someone who had experience making suits. I think they had a vision, and it just failed. But that's the part of it that hurts. That's all I'm saying.
I know exactly who you're talking about now. Yeah, you're gonna have to censor that.
If I can even remember. Like, I'm gonna censor out as much of that as I can to keep it vague who I'm talking about. Because I feel like furries who have been around for the past, like, 2 or 3 years are probably going to know who I'm talking about, and I'm not trying to burn bridges this early.
I would like to hear about this good fursuit thing. Like, what makes a good fursuit design? Like,
Okay.
because I know that you've made a few designs. Like, what's an example of a bad fursuit design layout to give to you from a client as opposed to a good fursuit design, which would benefit you as the
Okay.
what's the word, retailer? I
So,
think.
I guess retailer is a good word to use. So this isn't necessarily, I mean, it does have to do with design, but I'm going to start with like some basic stuff where it's like, because chat, in case I haven't, or not chat, I forgot this isn't a live stream. People in the comments who are watching this right now should know that I make fursuits. No, you cannot have the link, but it is very important when you go and you're like, hey, I want to get a fursuit from this person, you should keep the following things in mind. First of all, I don't understand why I need to keep saying this. If you are getting a suit that is not a partial, then your ref sheet needs to not have them wearing clothes, because I have no idea what they look like under the clothes. The amount of ref sheets that I have gotten from people where they are like fully clothed, I got one in like a gas mask one time and I was just confused. Like, I do not do that. But in terms of like once you remove the clothes and we get into like character design, super important, simple colors. You really need simple colors. I'm going to explain why. Fake fur only comes in so many colors, and they're very basic colors. Red, green, white, black. Now, the good news for this is that there are a lot of retailers now who are making like less common colors. But if you design a character for the purpose of being made into a fursuit, you need to be ready to tweak the colors slightly to appeal to what can be bought. Because you don't, like, a lot of fursuit makers will not dye fur for you. I personally won't, and the ones that do will charge you through the nose for it. And the reason why is because dyeing fake fur is not the same as dyeing hair, because fake fur is not hair. It is synthetic fiber, basically. It's like plastic that's woven really, really thinly so that it can look like fur. So you can't dye it like you dye hair. It's a whole process. It's a mess. Only established fursuit makers can do it because it requires a lot of space and a lot of money. And odds are the color is going to fade over time anyway to whatever it was before they dyed it. So it is not worth it. If your fursuit maker says, hey, I can't find this color, it is time to change the color. Even if just slightly. Like, you can go on like fabric sites and stuff and just look for colors that are basically what you want. Because we're buying fur from the same places that you're seeing. We don't go to like the special fursuit store. So it's like very easy.
Special fursuit store.
Like, you know, like it's not like we go to like the fursuit warehouse and buy like special fur. The last suit that I made, I got the fur off of like Amazon because I was like, I just need it now. So I got it. The other thing that I notice a lot is like, if you're going to do markings, once again, keep them as simple as you possibly can. And I'm going to unpack this a little bit. Do not perish. But, you are designing your character. Iconography is fine. Citrine has a thunderbolt on her back, but you'll note that a thunderbolt is a very, very simple shape to do, generally speaking. If you give me a ref sheet and I look at your character and they have the kanji for Flaming Seraph of the Endless War on their legs, I'm going to turn down the religion because it's not worth it. I hand sew all my markings so that they don't fade over time, because you can paint them on, you can dye them in, stuff like that, but they will fade. It might take years, but it'll fade. So what I do is I hand sew all the marking, which means that I have to get a template and cut fur perfectly for every aspect of your complex marking. So please don't do that. If you have to have it there, fine. But like, let's make it very simple. Like, there's a very prominent person in the fandom who has, I think it's like a treble clef on their leg. Do not get any more complicated than that, because a lot of people are just going to act like you didn't even email them. Do not do it. Now, when it comes to like tigers, leopards, jaguars, animals like that, you need to be willing and be open to the idea that not every marking that you put in the ref sheet is going to make it onto the suit, or you're going to have to take out a loan to pay for it. Like, for example, because you see all those markings and you got to think, I'm going to upcharge for that. So you got to keep that in mind. Like, Tangle, you're a great example of this. When I made your suit, the markings that were on the ref sheet, we kind of worked together on it and found a way to simplify them into a makeable form because it was insane, and it's still insane.
Yeah.
So if your fursona or whatever is like a tiger, you need to be ready to lose some of those stripes. If it's a jaguar, you need to be ready to like drop some of those rosettes or make them slightly bigger, things like that. But that's all very, very important. Other things you should avoid I'm actually looking at photos of things that people have sent me as I'm saying this, but if your fursuit reference doesn't have a front, side, and a back, do not bother. Just don't send it. If your fursuit reference is a photo of something you drew in a sketchbook, do not send it. It should really be a digital image, because when you take a photo of something, you have to account for the lighting in the room. I'm looking at one I was submitted that was literally just it's art and it's in a sketchbook, but because the lighting in the room is very yellow, I can't tell what the true colors are, so don't do that. If your fursona has little tiny markings, let's say if your fursona has a constellation or something, be ready to simplify that down to some spots on a black background, because it's insane. It's not possible to be done, at least not organically. I can think of some ways to do it, but you're gonna have to take out a loan for the suit. The other thing you need to avoid, and I think I'm gonna have this be the last one, and then if people want to hear more about this, I can either do my own video or I can talk about it in a future podcast episode, but you want to avoid the color black, and I'll have that one in two parts, because obviously there are a lot of people whose personas are the color black. But the problem with black fur is that it doesn't come through very well in most photographs unless the photo is being taken by a professional photographer. The videos people are going to take of you at conventions on their phone, there's going to be a void walking around, because that's how black fur looks. So especially if you're looking to get pictures taken, either avoid the color black or be willing to compromise with your fursuit maker to go with a very dark gray instead of a black, so that you will show up better in the areas you are in. On that note, and this is the final thing, try to avoid having fursonas that are all the same color all over, unless that color is white, because it kind of starts to flow into itself. It'll become harder to distinguish, where does the arm begin and end? Where do these digi legs begin and end? Where do the toes become the feet? Stuff like that. It kind of gets muddled if you have especially vibrant colors like green, blue, stuff like that. If your fursona is that all over, you might run into problems, so you might want to avoid that. But depending on the maker, they might be able to work around that and look really, really good. But that's all I have to say about that. I could really talk about this all day.
Wow, that was a lot.
Oh yeah, that's just stuff that me as a fursuit maker, when people say, "Oh, I'd like a quote for my suit," and I say, "Sure, let me see your ref sheet," and they show me their ref sheet, that's stuff that I look at that might lead me to either not pursue the commission or upcharge you immediately. So keep that in mind.
Yeah, I guess that one thing I wanted to mention, because you're going into what makes a good fursuit. One thing that I would like to see, obviously people have, we had this disclaimer earlier that, you draw what you love, I don't personally vibe with the majority of mainstream furry art, and that's just me. Draw what you love. Draw what you love. One thing that I would love to see, and I've actually seen a number of people in the industry, and when I say industry, I mean more people who are less doing stuff for the furry fandom and more doing stuff for TV, film, and games. Is to deviate from that same human body plan, or from that typical digigrade body plan. Because when you're doing a specific character design that is never going to be turned into a fursuit, there's ways you can play with the anatomy, with the length of legs, the length of arms. This is probably my monster artist, part coming out or whatever. You want to think of you want to stretch your. I'm sorry, this is turning into the creature design lecture, unfortunately. So you can tune me out if it's not your cup of tea. but you want to think about how to create something that is both you, but also stands out to other people looking at your. You want to you find your flavor. You find like, how can I push the shape design in this, and you know, how can I like change the facial features on something? Like, how can I, instead of like taking a, I mean, you can do this. It's not my personal cup of tea. It's like, but if you take like a wolf head on a human body and call it Lugosi, everyone's done that. I'm sorry, but so many people have done that. And again, that's not inherently bad. But you want to think about how you can mix and match the different anatomies. Like something that I thought was really interesting is I was watching a lecture by Terrell Whitlash. Terrell Whitlash is like one of the more prominent creature designers for the. I think she did creature design Star Wars prequel movies is what she did, and she would comment that instead of just taking like pieces of animals and stacking them onto each other like a chimera, you can do the chimera thing. But if you're trying to avoid that, you can find ways to like, study the anatomy of a human skull, study the anatomy of a wolf skull, and find ways to push and pull on that spectrum of characteristics. This is a bit of a weird segue, but I kind of have a similar complaint with the what's it called? The Marvel aliens, the aliens in Marvel. Because to me, a lot of them are basically just spray painted people. And I kind of, I'm trying to find a way to like to kind of bridge these two things together. But what I'm saying is that it feels like they're not pushing the concept nearly as much as you could. For instance, if you look at Star Trek's designs, is that they're not like relying a whole ton on CGI. There's a little bit, I'm sure there's a little bit of CGI there. It's not a whole ton. It's just a bunch of really good makeup art. Because when we see on Marvel, a lot of that is also makeup art. So when I hear people saying like, oh, they have a budget, they can't afford to have a bunch of CGI on all these different like races. That's why a lot of them are much more humanoid, which is fair. But also, Star Trek is a better. Sorry. So just need to find ways to find your style, but experiment. Like that's what I ask. I ask that you experiment. Take that dog face and find ways to add interesting things to it. Give it horns or mess with like the body proportions. Because say you were taking a look at like a sighthound furry or something. Now, sighthounds are very lanky. You could continue to push things and say, okay, this is a sighthound that's been furrified. We could make it lankier, make it longer than what would be feasible for a humanoid form. Obviously, again, take this with a grain of salt. Obviously, a lot of this just comes down to taste. But if you're trying to design something that is appealing to the furry fandom, that has its own kind of thing where stuff that's a little more on the typical side can work because there's a big audience for it, and that's perfectly fine. But if you're designing something that's going to get you a job in film, in games, I would say, and I know Tangle already has a counter argument for this because we've had this discussion before, and her take is no, we've had this discussion before. Is that the typical furry look typically gets rejected in resumes, not resumes, but typically gets rejected by recruiters. And that's just what I hear from a lot of the people who come in to talk to students at my college and whatnot, or not my college, but the college I go to, I should say. A lot of them just end up tossing that stuff out. And I would say that it's not fair to those people because that's what they love. That is what they love. But at the same time, you have to understand that this is how the industry is right now. And until there is a lot more mainstream like furry stuff in games and I would say film, but there's cats and we don't talk about cats. To an extent, you have to know where you can push your concepts in order to get noticed. Sorry, that was a long spiel, but I think my point hopefully got across. I'm sorry.
I mean, I don't even necessarily disagree with you. I just think that like for a lot of people, the industry really isn't where they're trying to go. Like a lot of these people, and I think the reason why we see a lot of like quote unquote unoriginal designs is because it's really just people trying to express themselves and like do something fun. Mm-hmm. But I think it would be cool just to see more variety, just because I would like to see the fandom kind of like branch out a little bit outside of its like typical comfort zone. But I don't know. I think a lot of people don't really see the industry as the end all be all. And I think that's like kind of why.
No, yeah, I totally get it. A lot of people just end up making their little fursuit Patreon and they get to make their own little business that way. A lot of the furry fandom is just a bunch of freelancers that have found like a mutual community where they flourish, and that's great. I definitely would not flourish in that space for the most part, unless we get into like the monster art side. But a lot of them are monster. No,
Bruh.
furry. I'm not
Like,
rude.
as much as I rag on the furry fandom, I actually do think that's a really cool aspect of the community, that it's kind of its own economy. Like, you can make a lot of money just like, if you like drawing furries, you can just make a lot of money doing that, which I think is really cool, you know? Like, furries will pretty much pay for anything that another furry makes. And I'm like, that's pretty cool. Love that.
People be like spending $500 on a design and on like some adopt, and I can't even get like a $5 adopt to sell. Feels bad.
I think furries do a really good job of like treating artists well for the most part, and like valuing what they create, and I'm like, that's pretty cool. Love to see that. There was a whole controversy, and you might have to censor this whole part out, but there was a whole controversy with this maker because of the marketing strategy that they decided to use that pissed a bunch of other suit makers off and a bunch of other people off in the fandom, and they eventually had to retract their statement and yada yada yada. I think
because they were like, I'm gonna have to censor it. They were saying like, oh, we make luxury designer professional fursuits. We're not like those other fursuits. And so obviously, because they were obviously trying to do that, like, oh, we're fancy. We're like the freaking Louis Vuitton of fursuit making. And so they pissed off every other fursuit maker because they're like, oh, okay, so we're just nothing to you then. Like, it was a whole thing.
Yeah, I'm like, at the end of the day, like, we're making giant animal costumes for people to run around in. Like, you have to keep the pretension at a minimum here. Like, that, let's be real. Let's be self-aware right now. Like,
see, this is why I would never flourish in the furry fandom, because I'm too pretentious.
Literally just join the scalies in the corner. They're pretentious anyway.
They would love it.
Also, people were trying to do like mass-produced fursuits.
Yeah.
Which I think it's an interesting concept, and I don't think it's something that's actually been tried in the furry fandom before, but I'm not sure how that would like pan out, especially because the appeal of fursuits in a way is that they are all custom made.
Yep.
Yeah, the customability of a fursuit is what makes it like viable. Because otherwise, you might as well just go to a Halloween store,
Yeah, just go get the little
buy a werewolf costume, and call it a day.
Yeah, but that, I mean, it's an interesting concept, though.
I have to include this because it's one of those things that just makes me want to quit doing fursuit making. Like, I'm sitting here whinging about this particular suit, but I'm pretty sure it sold for like $5,000. So I'm like, okay.
That's not even the most expensive that a fursuit is sold for.
I know, but like, that is a partial, dude. That is not even a full suit. It's a mini partial. It doesn't even have a tail. Yeah, like, do you understand how bad I just want to drive off a cliff when I see that stuff like this is sold for $5,000? Like, yo.
I feel like the controversy kind of worked out in their favor in that way, though. Because it's like, it made made somebody want to get it.
Yeah, because it's like, the thing was, that person was like, I think they still are considered to be a rather upstanding member of the community. So when they apologized, everyone was like, oh, okay, we understand. And like, also, it was fine.
Not to be that Bonch TM, but these paws ain't really the fit.
Why, you just busted on the whole...
No, I mean, like, it's fine, but I feel like these paws aren't really like the head is, like, even if I don't like the style of the head, it is very well made, but the paws, like, what is with this applique right here? Like, what the junk, my guy?
You should buy paws from me.
That's just a really weird...
cute.
Anyway, not to be that Bonch, but to absolutely be that Bonch.
I mean, the thing is, like, to buy a suit, I think you really do have to love every aspect of it. So, like, I feel that. Like, if I was shopping for a pre-made, I would be so particular about it. But that's just me.
Yeah. The thing is, like, if you're spending that much money, you might as well just get custom made anyway.
Yeah. Like, once you get to, like, I don't know, what's the upper limit that I normally see for partials, like, as in head, hands, feet, tail, is normally like 1,200-ish. Once you get above that point, it might be time to just start looking to get a custom one.
I mean, honestly, though, the capitalist TM in me is like, look, if this suit is worth $5,000 to you, more power to you. But the critical eye in me is like, is this actually worth $5,000? Also, are any of these full suits?
No.
It's like the alpha and omega concept art versus the three.
Oh gosh, that just makes me sad, honestly.
Yeah, they're all mini partials, I think.
They're all I kind of like the Ram. I think that one's the best one.
Oh yeah. I just checked it on here, and the Ram actually works really well with it because of the angular.
I think the Ram is the nicest one, honestly.
That dog.
I just don't like the cheek branding. I love the cheek branding, and I actually wouldn't mind that head.
I think if they put
Like, I
it
think
like on
they're
the
trying to do
inside, like on the inside of the head, like if they had a liner or something and put on the inside to like.
A lot of bigger fursuit makers will just put tags with their logo on it, like on the inside of the suit, so that it doesn't quote unquote infringe upon the design of the suit, but you can still definitely see who made it. I don't even know.
Gosh, so look at the paw for the lion though. Like the finger padding isn't even
Wait,
consistent.
let me see.
At the very bottom of the page.
Now give us $5,000, and you better like it.
Okay, my beef with lion fursuits, and this isn't really like necessarily anything that could be fixed, but like lion manes are actually really huge, and it seems like we don't necessarily have the resources to make giant manes on lion suits for multiple reasons, but it just makes them look kind of like their heads look too small, if that makes sense.
The good news is that I totally want to give lion making a try. I definitely want to do a pre-made that's a lion, so I'll probably get your opinion on that while I work through it.
Because like I don't know, it's part of the silhouette, like the main part of the silhouette for a lion is the mane, but most of the manes that I see on suits are really short, and I'm like, I get why, because it's probably a huge pain to have like this giant lump of fur like glued on here, but at the same time I wish someone would like experiment with that a little bit more, just to
Isn't
see.
the fursuit just a lump of fur, so like, you can do it.
It's like it's fur on top of more fur. What about fursuits that we do like? Let's try to like balance this out a little bit.
Oh, I could really.
I think
Give me a second.
Shernava, the silver fox. What is the name of that maker? I don't remember. I follow them on Twitter. But that was like the first fursuit that I saw that I really, really like was vibing with.
Honestly, if your digilegs are good enough, you can convince me to love any suit.
What is Shernava's maker? I forget her name. Oh, I think it's Suzumuri Suits or something. Hold on.
Oh, I freaking love their stuff. They undercharge by so much. Like their prices are actually really low. I'm like, I don't understand. You really need to be charging more than that.
Especially because they have like 10k followers.
Yeah, or like I really like One-Eyed Doe. I think they make good stuff. Obviously, I gotta say the one that's gonna make Tangle groan, but I love. I would really like to get a suit from them. My biggest criticism of their stuff was A, the like quote unquote sexy eyelid, and B, I don't really like the way they do feet because like the center two toes are significantly larger and it's kind of hard to differentiate between the toes. I have since seen them do a lot more fursuits that don't have the eyelids TM, and I think those look amazing, but I do still kind of have that hang up about the feet.
There's so many fursuit makers that I actually really do think are good that I wish got more recognition because either they don't have the same style as everyone else or they have a similar style, but I think it's a lot cleaner in the way that it's executed. But
wait, do you think my style is boring?
No, I don't.
I'm just curious, like do you think it's too mainstream TM?
I feel like in a lot of ways you haven't really found your own style yet, if that makes sense.
Like when I make suits, I try to make them look like 3D versions of my 2D art style, but I don't really know how successful I have been at that.
I mean, I feel like because you don't really like you do have a style because you have drawn before, but I feel like you haven't necessarily like developed exactly what your vision is for. Like I feel like your strongest suit, or at least like the head, because you already had a style to go off of.
Okay. It's a strong head because his head is a very unique shape, but I have to censor all this. Between and you don't think that has like a better head?
It might be better constructed, but the style I think for is better.
Fair enough.
Like I can't speak to like how well it's constructed, like as a piece of fursuit making.
Fact.
But
I know for an absolute fact that is my best constructed suit, but it's also my most recent suit, so that kind of is expected.
But I think like as far as like the aesthetics, I think it's better.
I was going to mention that the link that Tingle just posted, these suits, I think this will probably be some of my more favorite suits, or at least I'm more impressed by these, are the what's it called? The ones that tend to look more, I don't know if realistic isn't the right word, but they somehow, it must be the type of fur that they use, has the natural kind of molted look, or has like actual fur. Like it looks like real fake fur. It's not just like, oh, this is
shag.
costume red fur, or like, is that what it's called?
Right?
Okay, I
Are
don't
we
know.
looking at the one you just posted?
No, I mean the typical type
Yeah,
of
yeah.
fur that is used for fursuits. It's shag fur or faux shag, right?
It's luxury shag faux fur, yes.
Yes.
But a lot of realistic
Oh, okay.
suits will use fox fur. Not real fox fur, but it's still fake fur. It's just called fox fur.
Yeah, basically
Imagine getting a fursuit made out of real fur.
Yeah,
wasn't there like a PETA thing about that where they're like, you should
Yeah,
make
there was-
fursuits because
PETA
it's
did a
real
thing.
fur, and everyone was like, yeah, we killed this green fox in the woods to get this
Yeah,
fur. The type of suit that you're typically referring to, they do call them realistic suits because they tend to rely heavily on like actual animal anatomy and trying to like extrapolate that to a suit form as opposed to like
yeah.
the stylized suits that most people have.
No, yeah, that makes sense. Gosh, what was that? There was it tends to pop up in like a popular Tumblr post, I think.
Oh, do you mean Click the Blue Jay? I love
Yeah,
Click.
yeah.
I think they're so cute.
Click is adorable.
That's not the one I
I
was
gotta
talking
say,
about.
I wouldn't mind. I wouldn't mind getting a suit like that because I love the bird claws.
Yeah, that's
I
a
have
really
to-
cute.
That's like my favorite thing.
One of my favorite, because we haven't talked about kimono suits at all, but this is my favorite one that I've seen recently is this one because it just has so much personality.
Oh, that one's
And I
cute. I like
Japanese fursuiters are on a whole other
They
level.
freaking are.
I respect.
They really are.
I'm trying to find
They
a better
do be on
picture
some
of
new
it.
stuff.
Japan just understands how to make mascots. Wait, hold on. What's the word? Mascots.
I was waiting. I was like,
Moscow. I don't know the
Moscow.
But yeah, they do a much better job with like the mascots. I think Japan just has a lot of mascots in general.
Yeah, they do.
They have this thing for mascots. for
Yeah.
some
I
reason.
follow,
And it bleeds out in the way how they do their fursuit design as
I
well.
follow this Twitter account that posts nothing but Japanese mascots. They have so many. Like each like prefecture has its own mascot. It's crazy.
Yeah, Japan be like, can we anthropomorphize this? Yes, no, we will not explain.
It's so good though. It's so good.
There's a suitor that I really like. Her name is Omu Macaw, and she has a toony version of her suit, but she also has a realistic version of her suit head that is really good looking.
Yeah, I like her suit. It's good.
Gosh, I have wanted to possibly get like a suit for either my raptor Sona or like I don't know, like one of my more dinosaur-y
I'm really
reptile
about to flame you.
characters. But I'm not like trying to go off on like whatever. I'm literally asking like I have not seen a lizard fursuit in a long time. Like you guys have an example of.
Oh, okay. I don't have a problem with. I think it's only the other one that I have a problem with.
Yeah, I know you really hate, but I had to post this one because like I was kind of leaning away from because I was getting real tired of those eyelids. But then they made this suit, and I'm like, it just captures everything that a fursuit should be. So I'm like, okay, I'm back.
Who do I have to murder for a Triceratops fursuit? Because I've literally never seen one in my life.
I'm sure
ever.
someone
I
would
have-
love to take that challenge.
I've seen one. It wasn't well made, but I have seen one.
You're like, it sucked, but I saw it.
I'm not saying it wasn't bad. Like it wasn't, carpet sample, but like it
No.
it
It
wasn't something that I would like send to you,
No. Why did you even remind me that existed? What is wrong with you? We're not going
Because
into
I
what
know
carpet
it.
sample is. We're just not doing it. Frick you.
No, we're not. We're not. I'm just saying, like, if you know, it wasn't that bad, but it also wasn't like, high quality. It wasn't a designer fursuit.
You didn't have to.
Yeah.
You did not have to bring that up. You really didn't.
It was the first thing that jumped into my mind as like I really thought like what's the worst fursuit you can think of, and so without dragging an actual maker, I was like, that one.
Oh, that's do you just like think about something and you could just smell it? Like I don't like that. I just don't freaking like
dude.
that. No.
Like no. Also, like the snout area is super super important when you're making suits because like if you make everything snout like a dog snout, it's just not good.
Yeah, okay. That is a pet peeve of mine. Everything is not a dog.
With a fursuit, you literally have no excuse because like I understand with 2D art you might be falling into like bad muscle memory when you're drawing, canines and such, but like you are literally putting the foam together. Just put it together in a different shape. Like I'm really confused how you
Like
end up doing
simply
something
build
like
it differently.
like compared to it's totally different.
That's true.
I literally just put the foam in a different shape. That was all I did.
Okay. I have a question. I have a question. Okay, so you've already gotten like a fursuit of a Siam made, but my question is this: if you could make a fursuit of any OC character, whatever, that you could, who would you get it of?
Ooh, might have to say Monty, my guy. Woo!
Of any-
What do you say?
Yes, so I could just be sassy as frick. Wait, Jan wanted to segue. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was about to mention because of course when I ask a question like, hey, what would you guys want to get, whatever, it's a ploy so that way I can answer my own question because I want to talk about
Oh yeah.
because I have like a list of OCs to choose from that I would want to get turned into a suit, but it really just depends. Because between like my main OCs, there's like my Sona, which is an obvious one. And then there's Ro, which is another raptor OC of mine, who's like old lady with a cane kind of thing. And then the two other ones that I would consider would be Melissa, which is like the steel dragon thing, which that one will probably require the most digging for the right maker, just because of her like design aspects. Because it's kind of specific, and the shape design is kind of important to me. I don't want it to be like jeopardized by the suit maker. And what was the last one? Oh yeah, Icarus. I think will probably be the most like feasible, just because she's Borzoi with horns, and that's kind of it.
I would love to see that.
So I have like a list. So it's between those. And then there's also the idea of getting a Mookie suit, just because I want to see someone like die trying to turn a what's it called? Strico Ceratops, however it's pronounced, into a fursuit head. The full crest.
I honestly want to try my hand at doing like some Monster Hunter pre-mades.
Ooh, would you do a Rathalos?
Oh yeah.
That's the one I can
Like-
remember the name of.
I know we love you for that. But like, I know I want to do
Yonder laughing at my lack of Monster Hunter knowledge.
like I know I want to do a Mizutsune at some point, but I want
Oh my. Okay, if you do a Mitsune, I'm putting down a deposit. I want that.
Yeah, please do, because I'm gonna flame you once you do.
I really want to, when I make those, I want to strike a good balance between like this is a good fursuit and this is a good representation of the actual monster. So I want to go like if there's a spectrum where one side is 100% toony and the other side is 100% realistic, I'm gonna be like 85% realistic.
Bruh, I will legit like save up money for a Mizu fursuit. Like, I'm not even kidding.
I'll just have to save it for you. Just make it and be like it's not for sale because
It's up for sale.
someone's already spoken for this suit.
I mentioned this before, but honestly, I would love to get a Bluey fursuit.
I want to do Bluey and Bingo for us now.
Yeah, we should, and not like in the style of the show, but like in a like furry style TM, you know?
As long as you do the refs, I will make it.
Yes, I will.
But I was gonna say, I'm glad you mentioned the Bluey fursuit thing because, like, here's the thing: the other important thing you have to do when you're doing fursuit design, or at least like when you're asking for a fursuit to be made, is you have to be really conscious about proportions because, as you are all aware, a fursuit fits the body, which means that if the creature that you're making into a fursuit does not have human-esque proportions, you will run into problems. Like, I saw someone had like an imp fursuit, and like the character had these very short, thin legs, but obviously the suit is shaped like a person. And so it looked really like uncanny valley. So that's something you have to be careful about.
That's so funny. It's like the opposite of my advice of like, don't design everything as if it's a fursuit if you're not going to make it a fursuit. And then with yours, it's like, make sure that you're designing it specifically with costume design in mind.
Yeah, like, you have to at least think, like, if a person was in this, would it look weird? Which is also, I'm not going to drag anyone with this one, because I actually do like most suits like this, but, most quad suits look awkward for that reason. There's just something about, it's normally the arms or, like, the neck that makes it look very odd, but it's like, obviously, humans are not shaped like horses or wolves, so when humans are on all fours trying to convince you that they are a horse or a wolf, it doesn't usually work.
Yeah, I've noticed that from quad suits.
Yeah, I was actually about to ask you about quad suits. That kind of answers my question.
Yeah. Very few of them look even acceptable. Like, I can think of one maker off the top of my head who has made quad suits that I consider to be acceptable. So I'm like,
There was
because it's hard.
Toothless one that somebody tried to make, and that one looked pretty decent. It looked like it was hard to move around in.
Oh yeah,
but-
I remember that one.
Yeah, I remember that one. Especially if the creature doesn't have fur. You have to be careful because the good thing about fake fur of any kind is that it hides a lot of imperfections. If the character has like skin or scales asterisk, then it might become a little more difficult. Because the fun thing you can do with fake fur is you can actually cut it into the shape of scales, and then when you brush it, it'll look like it's actual scales, even though it's just fur. If you didn't do that, you're out of luck. Also, that's really hard because it's like you get one shot, and if you mess it up, you have to throw that fur away. So,
And that stuff gets expensive,
Yeah.
doesn't it?
Yeah, like generally fake fur is gonna be like $20 to $28 a yard. So then of course the more colors you have, the more yards you're going to have to buy. Now the good news is most fur you can buy it in either half yards or whole yards. But still, if the fursuit you're making has 6 colors, you still have to buy a minimum of 6 half yards of fur, and you might not even use all of it. My basement is literally full to bursting with fake fur right now that I just haven't used from other projects. So, you know.
Okay, I got a
Can't you
question
only
for
buy
you.
it by like the smallest measurement you can buy by is like a half yard or something?
Yeah, and not all retailers will allow you to do that. There are a couple of websites that sell fur that are geared towards fursuit makers, and they tend to be a lot more flexible about it. But if you're on like fabric.com, they're going to be like, haha, buy 30 yards. So, you know. We should probably be looking to cut this because we're almost at an hour and a half.
I don't even know how much of this we're going to be able to use. This was it got really cursed really quickly.
Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed, please consider subscribing to the channel or liking the video. If you didn't enjoy the video, please consider liking it anyway. You can drop a comment because it raises the engagement, which will help us out in the algorithm. I'm going to drop our socials down below, so you can feel free to follow us, or if you want to cuss me out for my opinion on Fulfs, my Twitter is a great place to do it. Other than that, I think we're going to call it a day. So, yep, thanks for watching.
Bye.
Bye-bye.